night has fallen. You find yourself in a leafy, wooded area, home to ghastly, gigantic trees that seem to threaten the sky with their barbed branches. Of all the worlds we visited in games, movies, and television, this one seems an awful lot like our own. It's really dark. The moon is a sickly orange. The woods around you are caressed by a strange purple fog. It's almost silent, aside from the music and the occasional gravelly calls of the crows above. The music is contemplative, sad, mysterious. It's quaint in a way, and the whole scene toes the line between a weird feeling of peace and that signature nightmare gut feeling. It's like somehow you've been here before. You feel you might even know how it ends. But what is really going on here? This is not your average video game. Abiotic Factor is like Half-Life in SCP with a healthy dose of the forest, mixed together to make one of the most captivating games I have ever played. A fully modeled Black Mesa clone and tram system, an alien incursion, portals to other worlds, contained anomalies, and most importantly, the ability to change genres at the drop of a hat. The world we're talking about today is home to a cult hidden deep within a secret laboratory, and we'll be covering all the grisly details, lore, and trivia you've come to expect from this channel. Slowly, every step you take, the scales tip. The true nightmarish nature of this place reveals itself, and at the center of this small wooded seaside town there's a singular, all-powerful secret, the very essence of nightmares. An artifact so powerful and so dark that it causes whoever is holding it to have nightmares. Welcome to Canaan. For anyone who's unaware, Canaan is a name that appears throughout the Bible, the name of a promised land. And this might conjure up some ideas of what you're going to be dealing with here. But you should know before moving on that this land is not promised to you, but the others, the ones who dwell in the darkness. You're just another trespassing heathen, and you've already seen too much. One of the creepiest and most interesting things about this place is that unlike the other worlds in Abiotic Factor, the patterns of the stars indicate that this nightmare world could be Earth, perhaps at a different time, or simply an alternate version of our home. As you make your way towards the town, you come across a viewing gallery built with rickety wooden planks. You might wonder what the townspeople have been watching, and in an instant, you get your spine-chilling answer. A singular skeleton, bound to a stake and set ablaze, left bare and dry. What was once human about this skeleton was cruelly turned to ash, smoke which rose to the heavens like a protest, asking God, how could you let this happen? You see yourself in the skeleton. The whole scene is flanked by an overshadowing jagged tower. It's a bell tower. Scenes run through your head. A kidnapping. Cold hands seizing someone from their bed. A crowd of bloodthirsty eyes gathering to see the victim crackle and melt. Called together by the bell. Here, violence is next to godliness. This is a place where even the simplest of folk are carried to sleep by craven visions of murder, fantasies of wounding, dreams of disemboweling anyone different from themselves, be it in appearance, belief, or creed. Torches light the way with an unmatching warmth as you descend deeper into the tangled web of the woods through clawing dry grass. It's clear that you're getting closer to whoever did this, to the town, to the bizarre and disturbing secret at its core. There is no going back now. You might be doubting your decision to come here, but it is a one-way trap. This portal world forces you to play until it's done. Turn left and you stand before a cart, like something from the Pilgrim days. But it quickly becomes clear that you've made a big mistake. For the first time, you've made yourself known to more than just the crows and trees. A man stands atop a checkpoint, threatening you. He calls you a witch, a demon. If you come any closer, you'll feel the rippers, he warns. All at once, it seems there isn't much standing between you and the fate of the skeleton. This is where everything truly changes. The gloves are about to come off. Continuing on, you are finally face to face with the two true threats of Canaan. A man with an axe chopping down a tree, and something else. You can approach him to try and land a stealth kill, but even if he doesn't see you, the tree will. That's right, Canaan is so alive with such fear, resentment, and hatred that even the soil containing the atomized remains of tortured souls sprouts trees that claw, rip, and tear. The man himself, a woodsman, is the first of many rabid townspeople you will have to put down. After all, it is truly you or them. Like the rest of the Canaanites, his skin is pale and sickly. He has bloody marks on him, and his eyes have bags that drag deep into his face. One question immediately sticks with me. Is that his blood or someone else's? In Canaan, it looks like the correct answer is yes. Much like in many real-world cults primarily centered around apocalyptic ideas of death and destruction, it seems as if the members of the cult themselves are sacrificing their health and well-being for the greater good. The greater good. But hold that thought. It's not long until we make our next grisly discovery, a fellow scientist, hanging, beaten, bruised, and bloody. He looks sad, so utterly defeated, all alone in his agony, with no way to truly understand his fate. He deserved better. Look, the scientists may not be total paragons of perfect morality, especially not this chef guy who keeps following me around, but give the pencil necks a break, man. This guy's death was not quick or merciful. It wasn't fair. He didn't come here to hurt anyone, and neither did we. But still, like him, we were targeted as though we were demons. Nearby you find a diary. We'll cover what's in these diaries soon. There's a lot of great information in there. Soon you make it past the wooded outskirts into the settlement itself, and there are a lot more cultists on the path ahead. And let's talk about these cultists a little more. It seems every detail of them has been expertly crafted to make them shocking and deadly compared to what you're used to at this stage in the game. When they're idle, they pace around, chop wood, and proclaim that the devil is near and things like that. When they spot you though, everything changes. They make an uncanny, shuffling beeline towards you, and all you hear is their frenzied breathing. It feels inhuman. It's hard to believe that these folks are truly living humans and not some undead abominations. While the woodsman from earlier was certainly unsettling, there is something extra disturbing about seeing men and women alike coming out of their homes and shuffling towards you hastily, answering the call, using whatever is to hand. Torches, pitchforks, anything. It feels different. We've all played games. We've all watched movies. We are all very used to the evil killer with an axe or a chainsaw. These tools are so widely used in horror that we can forget to really feel what is happening in front of us. But much like Las Plagas villagers from Resident Evil 4, it's the almost improvised urgency of the violence that catches you off guard. The idea that they sprang from their houses, from their beds, inspired to maim. This, coupled with the breathing, says there is a deep, exciting, animating need to kill you as soon as possible. If you don't free the spirits of everyone in front of you fast enough, they can also ring a nearby bell to summon more of their kin. And again, if you're not careful, you can be surrounded in seconds. Adding more to their sinister design, the cultists' attacks inflict bleeding and deep bleeding far faster than the enemies you're used to up until now. Some can even ignore armor completely with their attacks. And not only does this make it genuinely uncomfortable to be outnumbered by these cultists, but it underscores their savagery and the power of their cultish zeal. They're not bitey animalistic aliens or precise mercenaries following orders, killing you from a distance with as few bullets as possible. This is a new type of violence for Abiotic. The cruel, calculated, and messy brute force of a pitchfork in the neck, a crossbow bolt in the eye, violence driven by savagery, made much worse by the intelligence and forethought of the human mind. While Canan's theme and looks clearly borrow from the earlier church and the pilgrims, what with all the talk of witches, the design of the place, and even the name reminding us of Salem, the cult of Canaan and its beliefs are not just a collection of Christian tropes. We never quite find out everything about this place and its people, but the diary entries shed some light on this dark and gritty world. Listen closely.
Souls Day 30. I have done everything within my power to protect us from the enemy, establishing our brethren here in Canaan, far from his greatest temptations and taunts. It is a fine and fitting sanctuary to record the teachings of Petri and share them with the faithful. But until we find a way to exeunt this plane, where every element and essence exudes his evil intention, we can never escape his influence entirely. Again, it all returns to the promise of the lodestone. My faith in it is a gift from beyond waivers not.
Now, before I explain what this all means, I want to thank my friend Lucia for covering all the diary entries in this video. And if you're enjoying yourself, why not subscribe to us both? Lucia makes fantastic content and will shortly be making some videos on Abiotic Factor himself. Anyway, back to the diary. So this is obviously written in quite an old-fashioned way. Let me make it a little bit easier to digest. Let's start with explaining who wrote this. Niketas. Niketas is the leader of the cult of Canaan and the founder of this cozy settlement. The diary entry basically explains that establishing Canaan is a great opportunity to keep himself and his cult far away from the outside world, and it's a great place to teach and share the cult's beliefs. But what beliefs? From what we can gather here, the cult seems to believe that all existence is evil, that is, all existence that is not a fellow cult member, hence their hostility. And it seems he believes that the human body is just a container and a punishment. Perhaps death is the only true key to salvation. Very Heaven's Gate indeed. This is another one of those cults where to simply exist, to live, is a bad thing, and the body is a prison, trapping your soul, stopping it from reaching true salvation. Unlike the typical Western Christian understanding, it's not that they believe death frees the soul from the earthly body, which then goes to the good place or the bad place. It is more that you are in hell by default, from birth, and life can only be found in death. Another name is mentioned too, Petri, and that is a name worth remembering. Petri seems to be a godlike figure in this cult, and the lodestone, which the diary mentions, seems to be its holy artifact. A gift from beyond, as Niketas says. We'll be seeing and hearing a lot about the lodestone as we go on, even beyond Canaan. As I'm sure you can tell already, this lodestone is a very ominous object. In Latin, Petri means rock, or a piece of stone shaped for building. Imagine a rock that has been carved into the shape of a brick. In real life, a lodestone is a name given to pieces of magnetite. These rocks are naturally magnetic. Our lodestone, though, is seemingly made of flesh, which raises all kinds of questions about what it really is and where it came from. And the Canaanites are not the only ones interested in it. In terminals we can access before we get here, the Order, the religious military force that we encounter throughout the game, seems to have been keeping the lodestone before it got here, somehow. And they are terrified of it falling into the hands of the scientists, because if we were to study it, there would be unforeseen consequences. Yes, quite similar to what we experience in Half-Life, creating beacons visible to powers far beyond anything that could be defeated. After all, the only reason the science team could get to Canaan in the first place is because of the lodestone's signal. Interestingly though, the Order's emails also explain that the Canaanites are sort of a splinter of their own belief system, and that Niketas is a Tier 4 schizo poster. But was this his own insanity, or was it just gifted to him by the lodestone? I mean, that thing is clearly not okay. The Order member who was sent to get the lodestone back from Canaan actually ended up lost too, and seemingly might have even had a hand in creating it, and for his troubles, he was killed. Awesome. The plot thickens. Niketas explains this in another diary.
Prayer day 11. Yea, the truth was revealed in a tavern, and deceit fell like shales from my eyes as I heard the words of Petri from the mouth of this drunken, self-pitying apostate, sniveling like a rat. He told me of his Order's faith, which had proven too demanding for his spirit. He had been an inquisitor, he said, and was now nothing. Yet just as he foresaw his fealty, I felt the truth of his Order's creed take root in my soul.
This makes a lot of sense. The Order's emblem can be found in a few places in Canaan, including on the front cover of the diaries and on the church. More on the church later, but so far it seems like we're dealing with a radical, miscommunicated splinter of the Order's belief system. For now though, the focus is on survival, and on purifying this sick town. On the way to the next area, you can find a fisherman, the first friendly Canaanite we encounter, or so it seems, because just when we get close enough, it turns out he's actually one of us. A fellow scientist, forced to live a double life here in Canaan. He tells us hastily that he came here to investigate this place as part of a group of Gate scientists, Gate being this game's Black Mesa. They were soon discovered, and well, that's what happened to the charred skeleton and the hanged man, who we can now call Dr. Mitter and Dr. Jessup. He tells us our only hope for survival here is to keep our heads down. The cavalry is not coming. We're screwed. The fisherman's experience is a different kind of horror to what we've dealt with here so far. For him, one man, without the pretty powerful kit you might have arrived with, it's blend in, or as he says, end up as a Christmas ornament. This is simply the rest of this man's life. Once a scientist working in one of the world's most advanced facilities, he is reduced to a hermit, surrounded by bloodthirsty zealots. He could be here for decades, or he could be flayed next week, feeling every moment. Under the constant threat of being found out, he must continue. But thanks to this guy's quick thinking and acting skills, he's figured out that Dr. Riggs, the leading scientist from his team, might still be alive. And this is a big deal, as you'll soon see. He describes a witch that the townspeople speak of, out on the swamp. Could this be a clever disguise or just more cult jargon? From what we can gather from the fisherman, Dr. Riggs is a bit of a badass, and if she did survive, she could be our way out. Before we leave though, he warns us not to eat the corn. Ah yes, the tainted corn. It's tainted. But you know what? Somehow I didn't have the appetite for it in the first place. This is another piece of the puzzle though. The pale, sick-looking Canaanites, he says the corn is doing something to them. Something wrong. So they really are sick, huh? It begs the question, what came first? The lodestone, the cult, or the corn? But that is not all. To get to the swamp we need to cut through the mines, where the townspeople have been digging for silver to keep things running. This is why some of them will drop silver when you kill them. Another diary by Niketas explains this.
Faith Day 41. In pursuing our pious ends, some dalliance with the outer world is unavoidable. As such, I have authorized the exploitation of silver veins in the hills of the village. We must keep our encounters with outsiders to an absolute minimum, but a small trade in that damnable coin is, I fear, the price of sustaining our pursuit of paradise.
Truly nobody is immune to the power of money, huh? Eventually we reach the swamp, where a shrill voice calls out. This is either an actual ghoulish witch that even the Canaanites can't overpower, or it's Dr. Riggs. And this place really does look like something from Goosebumps, complete with creepy straw dolls and weird lumbering beasts made of lumber. If we survive to get to that witch's hut, thankfully it really is just Dr. Riggs putting on a hell of a performance. She has a cauldron and everything. And not only was she able to survive here for long enough to be found, unlike the two executed scientists, but she managed to grab the lodestone as she made her escape. This is huge, because not only is it essentially the backbone of Canaan, but we can break it open on the town anvil. And that is our key out of Canaan, finally. But before we go, there's just one thing left. That ominous church. Niketas is actually giving a sermon when we walk in and rudely interrupt. Something he's not too happy about. When we deal with Niketas, he drops his final diary, explaining how he killed the member of the order who came to collect the lodestone.
Watching him weep and renounce his faith, I saw the failing of all flesh, the evil of its fetters, forged by the enemy in the far past. I glimpsed the release that we seek, and knew in that instant I was being called. Beyond the flesh, a faint light in the darkness. And as he spoke further of his falling, this wretch revealed another truth when he told me of the gifts he carried, which he could now neither return to his order nor rid himself of. The artifact that so terrified him, that planted the seed of his unraveling, would be the very key to paradise. I felt no shame when I tracked him outside and relieved him of his burden and a few further trinkets. His purpose was achieved. He was free.
And we can also find a diary detailing the killings of our scientist friends from earlier.
The faithless tetrad from lands of Cascade, chased 2, hanged, cleansed, 2 missing. The mark of which they are known is the Arched Path, or the Eyeless Tunnel. Several crates and curios stolen, made from strange irons.
With the lodestone fragment in hand, proving its special qualities, we can open a portal with it and finally go home. Canaan is a beautifully crafted, horrid place. For this to be just one of the tens of detailed worlds in this Half-Life SCP-inspired survival crafting game is just mind-blowing. I haven't covered the full extent of the lore here because more is revealed later on, and I really think you ought to play this game before you go finding everything out. If you have even the slightest interest in Half-Life SCP or just a cool retro survival crafting experience, this game is for you. As always, the Discord link is in the description. Thank you for joining me on this spooky Halloween episode, and thank you to Canaan for being our first new Patreon member since we returned.